class. Sir.
Good morning, sir.
Can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So today we'll start our microbiology class with a case, okay, a clinical case. You go through it first. After a trip to Jajarkot, which is one remote district of Nepal, a 32-year-old woman and her new baby both develop profuse watery diarrhea with flecks of mucus. Here, remember, there is profuse watery diarrhea with flecks of mucus. Both are hospitalized because of the severity and rapidity of the dehydration. There is a profuse watery diarrhea with flecks of mucus. Both are hospitalized because of the severity and rapidity of dehydration, but neither one is febrile. Neither one is febrile means there is no fever. What is the most likely causative agent? So after a trip to one remote district of Nepal, one person along with her baby both develop profuse watery diarrhea with flecks of mucus. Both are hospitalized because of the severity and rapidity of the dehydration. There is dehydration, but neither one is febrile. There is no fever. What is the most likely causative agent? You can see the pictures from Africa due to this clinical condition. Same scenario has happened in Nepal in Jajarkot district. So I have made case of Jajarkot. Now can you guess this may be due to which disease and what may be the causative agent? Anyone? Yes. The disease is cholera and causative agent of cholera is Vibrio cholerae. So today we are going to study about Vibrio cholerae, name of bacteria Vibrio cholerae, and the disease caused by this bacteria, cholera. Cholera, it is acute diarrheal disease. There is profuse, painless, watery diarrhea with effortless vomiting. There will be profuse, painless, watery diarrhea with effortless vomiting. Outbreaks are linked to ingestion of contaminated water, food, and seafood. It is prone to individuals facilitated by poor nutrition mostly. Etiology. Causative agent of cholera is Vibrio cholerae. There are various strains or various types of this organism, Vibrio cholerae. Mostly responsible are toxigenic strain O1 and O139. So, causative agent is Vibrio cholerae, among which most common strains are toxigenic strain of O1 Vibrio cholerae and O139 Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae serogroups non-O1 and non-O39, they cause mild diarrhea, not cholera. Mostly cholera is caused by Vibrio cholerae toxigenic strain O1 and O139. Natural infection occurs only in humans and mode of transmission is by orally through contaminated water or food. Mode of transmission is by fecal-oral route. Now, history. Cholera was originally endemic to the Indian subcontinent. This bacteria, Vibrio cholerae, was first identified by Robert Koch, a German from India, Bengal. So, Bengal, this bacteria, Vibrio cholerae, has been first proved by Robert Koch, a German scientist. Later on, so it is originally endemic to the Indian subcontinent, but later on the disease is spread to Russia, Western Europe, North America, Africa, globally. If we observe morphology of this bacteria Vibrio cholerae, now we are entering in microbiology. First, morphological feature of Vibrio cholerae. It is gram-negative, comma-shaped bacilli. This is electron microscopic structure, so it appears this much big. In compound microscope, if we perform motility test and if we observe this bacteria, it appears motile, and if we perform gram staining, it appears gram negative comma shaped bacilli. It is non-capsulated. It is motile due to presence of polar flagella, single polar flagella. It is monotrichous bacteria having only one flagella at one end. So it shows motility it shows active motility with single polar flagella, monotrichous flagella. It grows most rapidly at neutral to somewhat basic pH. It prefers basic pH for its growth, alkaline pH. Now, what are determinants of pathogenicity of this bacteria? Among various determinants of pathogenicity, most important virulence factor of this bacteria is cholera toxin, which is heat labile enterotoxin. Cholera toxin has important role in virulence or disease causation by this bacteria leading to cholera. These are other various virulence factors along with various biological effects. And other important thing is flagella, structural component. This monotrichous flagella present in this bacteria, which helps in motility, is other important virulence factor or determinant of pathogenicity. So flagella, which helps in motility, is important, one of the important virulence factor, and cholera toxin, which is heat labile enterotoxin. Toxin produced by this bacteria Vibrio cholerae is other important virulence factor, which has a role in hypersecretion of electrolytes and water. Along with these two important virulence factors, there are many virulence factors which is very less role in disease causation. There is co-regulated pilus, accessory colonization factors, hemagglutination protease, zona occludens toxin, accessory cholera enterotoxin. All these are virulence factor, but most important is flagella and cholera toxin. Flagella helps in motility. Cholera toxin helps in hypersecretion of electrolytes and water. So these are important determinants of pathogenicity or important virulence factors of Vibrio cholerae. Now, principle of classification. How to classify Vibrio? This also we have to know. Vibrio cholerae, it contains two types of antigens, somatic O antigen and flagellar H antigens. So Vibrio cholerae, it contains somatic O and flagellar H antigens. Two scientists, Gardner and Venkatraman Ramakrishnan. Venkatraman Ramakrishnan is Indian scientist. So Gardner and Venkatraman, they classified Vibrio into two groups, Group A Vibrio and Group B Vibrio. Group A Vibrio, they will have common flagellar H antigen but different O antigen. If Vibrio contains common flagellar H antigen but different antigen, they are categorized to. And if they are non-group A Vibrio, they are called Group B Vibrio. So Gardner and Venkatraman classified Vibrio into two groups, Group A Vibrio and Group B Vibrio. Group A, it contains common flagellar H antigen but different O antigen. Group B Vibrio, it is different from Group A. Group A O antigen, it can be O1 or non-O1. Non-O1 means from O2 to O139. O2, O3, O4, O5, O6 up to O139. So group A O antigen can be O1 or non-O1. O1, it gives reaction with O1 antisera. Non-O1, they will give specific reaction with specific subtypes of non-O1. O1 biotype, O1 has two biotypes. O1 Vibrio has two biotypes, Elter and Classic. Elter or E1 tor. It can be called Elter, but it is actually E1 tor. Simply we say Elter. So here first Gardner and Venkatraman classified Vibrio into two groups, Group A and Group B. Group A O antigen contain O1 or non-O1. This O1 has two biotypes, Elter and Classic. Remember in MCQ generally it is asked whether Elter and Classic are biotypes or serotypes. Elter and classical Vibrio are biotypes. Okay, they are not serotypes, they are biotypes. Why they are called biotypes? Because Elter and classical Vibrio are classified, categorized according to biochemical reactions shown by them. Hochsproscar test. You have studied about TSI, indole, citrate, urease, but there are other biochemical reactions, MR, VP. So based on VP, Hochsproscar test and hemolysis reaction, there are two biotypes of Vibrio, O1 Vibrio. They are Elter and Classic. Elter, it shows VP and hemolysis positive. Classical, it shows VP and hemolysis negative. So based on VP and hemolysis, these biochemical reactions, they are called biotypes. O1 has two biotypes, Elter and Classic. Either Elter or Classic, both have three serotypes. Elter has also three serotypes, Classic has also three serotypes. First, they were classified in Japan, so these are according to Japanese name. Three serotypes of either Elter or Classic of Vibrio are Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Ogawa, 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 Inaba, Inaba, and Hikojima. Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Ogawa, they have two types of antigens, A and B. Inaba, they also have two types of antigens, A and C. A is common to all, okay? A antigen is common to all. So AB antigens is contained by Ogawa, AC antigens are contained by Inaba, and Hikojima, third type, it contains all antigens, A, B, and C. In case of classical also same happens, Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Ogawa contains AB antigen, Inaba contains AC antigen, and Hikojima contains mixture ABC all. So O1 has two biotypes, Elter and Classic. Both Elter and Classic, they have three serotypes, Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. Ogawa contains A and B antigen, Inaba contains A and C antigen, and Hikojima contains A, B, C, all three types of antigens. This is classification of Vibrio. Now we'll study about Vibrio cholerae O1. Both classical and Elter cholera belong to the same O subgroup. Both classical and Elter Vibrio cholerae belong to same O subgroup 1 and antigenically indistinguishable. It means O1 is classified into two biotypes, Elter and Classic, and both Elter and Classic have three serotypes, Ogawa, Inaba, and Hikojima. O antigen is subdivided into Inaba and Hikojima. Antigen A is common to all strains. Now, Vibrio cholerae non-O1. This is about Vibrio cholerae O1. Now, Vibrio cholerae non-O1 from O2 to O139, they have same H antigen. They have same flagellar H antigen as Vibrio cholerae, but different O antigen. These Vibrio cholerae non-O1 group, they contain same H antigen as Vibrio cholerae but different O antigen. Elter Vibrios, they are antigenically and in most other respects identical to classical cholera, only with few biochemical difference. Few biochemical difference means just two. VP will be positive in case of Elter, hemolysis will be positive in case of Elter. VP and hemolysis both will be negative in case of classical. In this way, we can differentiate two biotypes of Vibrio, Elter and classic by VP and hemolysis reaction. Both VP and hemolysis will be positive in Elter. Both VP and hemolysis will be negative in classical type. Now, Vibrio cholerae O139 is called Bengal strain. It was first isolated from Sea of Bengal. That's why it is called Vibrio cholerae O139, which is also called Bengal strain. Now, most important topic, most frequently asked question in exam is pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae. Pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae. First, what is source of infection? Source of infection are contaminated food, water, or seafood. Contaminated water, contaminated food, or contaminated seafood. This may act as source of infection of cholera. Mode of transmission by fecal-oral route. And incubation period, it ranges from few hours to 3 days. Now, mechanism, this is very important. How there will be secretion of rice watery stool. How there will be release of profuse watery diarrhea in case of cholera. This mechanism is very important. First thing, Vibrio cholerae will adhere and colonize in intestine. Then it will secrete cholera toxin. CT is cholera toxin. It will secrete cholera toxin. This cholera toxin has 1A and 5B subunits. These B subunits, which are 5 in number, 5B subunits, they will help in binding to intestinal epithelium, and fragment A will be cleaved into A1 and A2 component. Fragment A of cholera toxin, fragment B they will bind. Fragment A, it will be cleaved into, it will be breaked into A1 and A2. A2 also will help in binding. This A1 has a role. A1 fragment of cholera toxin has a role in disease causation. What happens? There will be activation of A1 subunit in which enzymatically transfers ADP ribose from GTP protein. It leads to enzymatic transfer of ADP ribose from NAD to GTP binding protein. This increases adenyl cyclase activity. First, there is adherence and colonization, then the release of cholera toxin. This cholera toxin contains 1A and 5B subunits. B subunits help in binding. A fragment is cleaved into A1 and A2. A2 also helps in binding. Activation of A1 subunit enzymatically transfers ADP ribose from NAD to GTP binding protein, which increases adenyl cyclase activity. Now, increased intracellular cyclic AMP will be there. There will be increased intracellular cyclic AMP. Due to increased intracellular cyclic AMP, there will be inhibition of reabsorption of sodium, potassium, and chloride ions. Due to increased intracellular cyclic AMP, there will be inhibition of reabsorption of sodium, potassium, and chloride ions. Along with this, there will be hypersecretion of chloride and bicarbonate ions. Due to increased intracellular cyclic AMP, there will be inhibition of reabsorption of sodium, potassium, and chloride ions, and hypersecretion of chloride and bicarbonate ions. So there will be net loss of sodium, potassium, and sodium bicarbonate in intestine. There will be corresponding fluid loss to maintain isotonicity of intestinal fluid. Due to this, what happens? There will be corresponding fluid loss to maintain isotonicity of intestinal fluid. Due to this reason, rice watery stool appear as diarrhea when the colon cannot absorb the fluid fast enough and it can exceed 1 liter per hour. Rice watery stool will be expelled from the intestine through as feces, which is 1 liter per hour. So, in this way, rice watery stool will appear as diarrheic stool, which may be excreted 1 liter per hour. So, in pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae, I would like to revise it. It is very important question, very frequently asked question. Pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae. First, there will be adherence and colonization, then secretion of cholera toxin. This cholera toxin contains 1A and 5B subunits. B subunits will help in binding to intestine. A fragment is cleaved into A1 and A2. A2 also helps in binding. Activation of A1 subunit of cholera toxin, it enzymatically transfers ADP ribose from NAD to GTP binding protein, which increase adenyl cyclase activity. Due to increased intracellular cyclic AMP, there will be inhibition of reabsorption of sodium, potassium, and chloride ions, and there will be hypersecretion of chloride and bicarbonate ions, which will, it means there will be net loss of sodium, potassium, and sodium bicarbonate in intestine. There will be corresponding fluid loss to maintain isotonicity of intestinal fluid. Due to this, rice watery stool appear as diarrhea, and 1 liter per hour can be excreted in cholera. This is pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae, which causes cholera, in which there will be appearance of rice watery stool. Chaulani pani jasto bhन्छ. When we clean the rice, raw rice, there will be appearance of slightly brownish water, that is called rice watery stool. So appearance of cholera stool will be rice watery stool, which is excreted almost 1 liter per hour. Now symptoms. Incubation period, it ranges from few hours to 3 days. Then clinical features can be mild or asymptomatic. 75% may be asymptomatic. In 20% cases, it may be mild. Only in 2 to 5% clinical features will be severe. There will be effortless vomiting, cramps, and watery diarrhea 1 liter per hour. Rice water contains mucus, epithelial cells, and large number of fibrioles, and without treatment, death may occur within 18 hours to several days. So, 75% cases may be asymptomatic. In 20% cases, there may be mild disease, and only 2 to 5% cases, it will be severe. Features will be vomiting, watery diarrhea, rice watery diarrhea, with rate is 1 liter per hour excretion. There will be cramps, effortless vomiting, and without treatment, death occurs within 18 hours to several days. Consequences of severe dehydration. Here, there will be excretion of 1 liter rice watery stool within 1 hour per hour. So there will be severe dehydration. What are the consequences of severe dehydration in cholera? There may be intravascular volume depletion. There may be severe metabolic acidosis. There may be hypokalemia. blood potassium level will be, serum potassium level will be less, hypokalemia, cardiac and renal failure, sunken eyes, decreased skin rigidity, and almost no urine output, no urine production and no urine output. So, what are consequences of severe dehydration? Intravascular volume depletion, severe metabolic acidosis, hypokalemia, cardiac and renal failure, sunken eyes, decreased skin rigidity, and almost no urine production. These are consequences. Now, we said effortless vomiting and rice watery diarrhea is are common clinical features, and how we can perform lab diagnosis for confirmation now. We can collect specimen, watery stool and mucus flakes from stool. In case of carriers, though carrier rate is very less, in case of carriers, we may collect rectal swab also. Mostly, we will collect watery stool and mucus flakes from stool. Most commonly, we will collect rice watery stool. Then, if there is delay in processing, we can inoculate it in transport media. Transport media used for Vibrio cholerae are VR media, Venkat Raman Ramakrishnan media. Name of South Indian scientist, Venkat Raman Ramakrishnan. Venkat Raman Ramakrishnan media. So we, as transport media, we may use Venkat Raman Ramakrishnan media or Carey Blair media. So transport media for Vibrio cholerae are Venkat Raman Ramakrishnan media or Carey Blair media. Then we can perform direct detection by direct fluorescent antibody staining or motility test. In MCQs, I have seen it is most frequently asked question, and in Viva, in practical, during practical session also, it is most commonly asked question. What is a rapid diagnostic test for detection of Vibrio cholerae? That is motility test. There is appearance of rice watery stool. We will collect rice watery stool. Immediately we will perform hanging drop experiment for demonstration of motility test. In hanging drop experiment, there will be active motility showing comma-shaped bacteria. It indicates the bacteria is Vibrio cholerae. Clinical features, effortless vomiting and rice watery stool. In lab diagnosis, a physical appearance of stool is rice watery. Then we will perform hanging drop experiment immediately. So rapid test done for detection of Vibrio cholerae is motility test by hanging drop experiment. So motility test is rapid test. Initially, we may inoculate transport media, then incubate for 6 to 8 hours, then inoculate other media. Or direct detection can be done by direct fluorescent antibody staining or motility test. Most commonly motility test, because it is monotrichous flagellated bacteria, it will show active motility. It will move from one place to another. So active motility will be seen in hanging drop experiment. So rapid diagnostic test for demonstration of Vibrio cholerae is motility test. Now we can perform culture. We can use routine laboratory media, as this bacteria prefers slightly alkaline pH ranging from 6.4 to 9.6. It can tolerate, it prefers. So, and temperature 16 to 40 means almost 37 degrees Celsius. That is okay. So we can grow this bacteria in the routinely used media, and it prefers slightly alkaline pH. In McConkey agar, it will show non-lactose fermenting colony, and in blood agar, there will be hemolysis mostly by Elter type. Elter is most common type, and it will show hemolysis. If classical type, there will be no hemolysis. Another important name of culture media, selective media for Vibrio cholerae, is TCBS, thiosulfate citrate bile salt sucrose agar. TCBS. Selective media for Vibrio cholerae is TCBS, thiosulfate citrate bile salt sucrose agar. thiosulfate, citrate, bile salt, sucrose, agar, TCBS. Originally, it is green in color. If we inoculate Vibrio cholerae and incubate in incubator, due to sucrose fermentation, it will get converted into yellow color. Originally, TCBS is green in color. When we inoculate Vibrio, it will ferment sucrose present in that media, and media will get converted into yellow color. Just I would like to show you this picture. This is TCBS, originally green in color, but due to sucrose fermentation, you can see here yellow color, change that media into yellow color. So this, due to sucrose fermentation, originally green color TCBS gets converted into yellow colored media. Selective media is TCBS. Identification will be based on different biochemical reactions, such as this bacteria will show catalase positive, oxidase positive. Oxidase also will be positive in case of Vibrio cholerae. Catalase will be positive, oxidase also will be positive. Along with this, fermentation reaction can be used to perform lab diagnosis. Along with this, there is other test called cholera red reaction or diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae show cholera red reaction positive. If we inoculate peptone water with Vibrio cholerae, peptone water, if that contains tryptophan and nitrate, and if we inoculate peptone water containing tryptophan and nitrate with Vibrio, and after incubation, if we add few drops of conch sulfuric acid, first we will take peptone water containing tryptophan and nitrate. In that we will inoculate Vibrio and incubate. Then we will add few drops of conch sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid. There will be formation of red color due to formation of nitrosoindole. This red color formation indicates cholera red reaction positive, and this is shown by Vibrio cholerae. This is one of the diagnostic technique for Vibrio cholerae, that is cholera red reaction. Similarly, Vibrio, it shows string test positive. How to perform string test? We have to take clean glass slide and we have to add colonies of Vibrio cholerae on clean glass slide. Then over that, we have to add drop of 0.5% sodium deoxycholate. First, we have taken clean glass slide. We have taken colonies of Vibrio cholerae on the glass slide. Then we have added drop of 0.5% sodium deoxycholate. If we mix it with wire loop and try to take it up, there will be appearance of string within inoculating loop. There will be formation of string. There will be viscous suspension in string with inoculating loop. This is called string test positive, and string test positive also indicates Vibrio cholerae. Lab diagnosis of Vibrio cholerae is confirmed. Now, treatment and prevention is replacement therapy, rehydration. Replacement therapy or rehydration is there is severe dehydration due to excessive loss of electrolytes along with water. So replacement therapy or rehydration is important therapy. In antibiotic therapy is reserved for serious cases only. Mostly rehydration is the method for treatment in case of cholera. Now, prevention. Travelers should be aware of how the disease is transmitted, and good sanitation practices should be followed. Good sanitation practices among other preventive measures. All materials that come in contact with cholera patients should be sterilized. All materials that come in contact with cholera patients should be sterilized. Hands that touch cholera patient or their clothing and bedding should be thoroughly cleaned. Hands should be thoroughly cleaned, and clothing, bedding, they should be thoroughly sterilized. Now, before discarding, before connecting sewage to waterways, treatment of general sewage before it enters the waterways or underground water supplies is other important preventive measure. So these are preventive measures for preventing from cholera caused by Vibrio cholerae. Now there are vaccines also available. There is killed vaccine, killed oral B subunit wholesale vaccine. What is name of killed vaccine? Killed oral B subunit wholesale vaccine. It gives overall protection for 2 years. Killed vaccine gives protection for 2 years. And there is other vaccine, live oral vaccine, which is a recombinant DNA vaccine. It provides local immunity in pairs patches of intestine. So live vaccine, it provides local as well as systemic immunity. Killed vaccine, it gives systemic immunity only. Killed oral B subunit wholesale vaccine, it will provide protection for 2 years. Live oral vaccine, it is used for long term, which is a recombinant DNA vaccine. So, in this topic, cholera, most important thing, clinical features. Clinical features, there is effortless vomiting, diarrhea. Physical appearance of stool will be rice watery. There may be abdominal pain also, symptoms of gastrointestinal system involvement. Most important thing is pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae. I am repeating this many times. It means it is important. Pathogenesis of Vibrio cholerae. In pathogenesis, first colonization, then release of cholera toxin. Cholera toxin has two components, 1A and 5B. B component will help in binding. A component will cleave into two components, A1 and A2. A2 also helps in binding. A1 has important role pathogenesis.